Hi, it's Rabbi Lewis wishing you an early Shabbat shalom. You may not be able to tell right away, but I am standing in a slightly elevated spot in front of my house. It's not because I want to be a rabbi doing a sermon from a mount. I think that shtick was taken by somebody else a long time ago. But it's because I wanted to bring attention to this place where I'm standing. This is a tree trunk. Some of you may remember a tree that was blown over by the wind about a year ago that almost fell on my car as I was pulling out of my driveway. I shared that on one of my Friday messages and talked about it quite a bit. It was a bit of a scary experience, but alas, the trunk is still there, and shows how deep the roots of this tree are. And it would take a lot of work, a lot of extra effort, a lot of extra money to get rid of it, so it's there. Our Torah portion actually talks about the deep roots of a tree and how hard it can be to remove a deeply rooted tree once it's been planted. And it goes like this. PARASHAT Shoftim. First, it talks about appointing Shoftim v'Shotrim, judges and magistrates to govern all the provinces of the land. And it's important because it's establishing two different layers of leadership, sort of a division of power, branches, if you will, that have sort of equal responsibilities but different responsibilities. The judge is judge, the magistrates enforce. And hopefully that if ever the judges were to be corrupted, that the magistrates would then be able to also then be responsible for removing a judge from power, which would be hard, because I think one definitely holds a little bit more power than the other, but it would be essential for any level of corruption to have some sort of methodology to be removed. And the Torah doesn't give us a direct way of dealing with that. So the Talmud goes into it a little bit. They will say, will point to the fact that right after the section about appointing the judges, there's a passage about what to do when there's an Asherah tree planted. An Asherah is a tree that is planted for the purpose of doing idol worship. And so a tree, not unlike this one, take away the playground for a moment, a tree could be planted and then worshipped as if it were a god or a connection to another god. And as we all know, in the Torah, that's a big no-no, idol worship. Don't do it. Anyhow, they say this juxtaposition is to show that once something which is corrupt is planted, the roots can grow so deep that it's nearly impossible to fully remove, not unlike the stump in front of my house. And thus, if you were to have a judge that is appointed who is corrupt, that those roots also grow deep. And though there might be mechanisms to address or remove that once that leadership is established, that it can actually taint all the other institutions and systems around it, which is kind of fascinating, because they even go on to say the judges that would judge over a case, there would be three. And theoretically, if one of those judges were bribed and then corrupted, the other two would be able to outweigh the one that was corrupted, thus the need for having three judges on every case. But the Talmud also will address the matter that one corrupt judge might be able to then have some influence over the other two, and thus the system could never be pure once corruption enters into it. Those roots are planted and deep. So the warning isn't necessarily about to be aware of it so that we can then remove it. The warning is to be careful to never let it happen, because tree roots can run deep. Ideally, a tree is permanent, but if it's one that is actually corrupting the land around it as if it were a giant weed, then it's one that you would wish you would never let grow in the first place. So those are some interesting thoughts about the Torah portion. Let's hope we would never need to do anything or worry about anything like that in our lives. And let's continue learning PARASHAT Shoftim, celebrating Shabbat, and looking forward to the upcoming Jewish New Year, which will be here in just a few weeks. Shabbat Shalom.